Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on the Real Estate Podcast. I'm Todd Sumney, the Chief Industry Officer for HomeSmart, and I'm very excited today. I have three of our top agents from around the country. They are our elite agents, HomeSmart elite agents. They are our top agents from across the United States, but also top agents here in Georgia. And I actually happen to be on site in Georgia today, so I've asked three of them to join us and talk about their businesses, talk about what's working, talk about what they've learned, and talk about right now, the record date here is in the middle of 2023. Some of what they're going to talk about is tried and true that will last for years, and some of it's going to be timely to what's going on in the summer market here in 2023. So without any further ado, though, I have Kelly Arzabe here with us today. Say hello.
Hello.
And then I have Allyson Harris, who's also with us, and Lowe, and also affectionately known as D-Lowe.
Hey, guys.
So anyway, this is going to be fun today. We're just going to have a conversation, and I kind of want to start with each of them telling their story, how they got started in real estate, and what they've learned, what their story, what makes them unique. Just kind of give us a little background on you. And who wants to kick us off? Go ahead. Here, we'll give you this mic.
Hello, everyone. I'm Allyson Harris. I've been licensed since September 2020. My career actually was in corporate human resources. Before I transitioned into real estate, I was managing global restructures for a Fortune 500 company. In early 2020, I was stationed in Dubai on a short-term assignment covering for a colleague who was out on maternity leave. And that's when COVID happened, so I had to come home. But when I came home, I did not feel that the role that I was in served me anymore. I was no longer fulfilled with it, and I was looking for something different. My husband and I had always desired to invest in real estate and had no idea what we were doing. So my intention with getting my license was to learn how to best assess properties for investment. I partnered with a great mentor, and I credit her with giving me the basics. When I started doing real estate, I had no idea what I was doing, of course, but I chose to take the direction of when I bought my first house, I made all of the mistakes that we tell buyers not to make. I bought the first house I saw. I didn't have a realtor. I didn't get pre-approved. And so I made a ton of mistakes doing that that I'm probably still paying for. And so I share my story with people to let them know why I choose to educate them about the process as opposed to just open a door for them. So that's a little bit about my background and how I ended up here.
All right, great. And then Dion, how many followers do you have on YouTube? We have to start there. I hear you have a huge YouTube following, and at some point I'm sure you're going to tell us how you got into starting to do video. But I also want to hear your whole story.
I'm not going to call it a large following. It's about 12K.
That's good.
So it's
That's
organic.
Great. That's
it's
good.
organic.
Okay. That's good. All
so
right.
I started that YouTube channel in 2017. So it has grown.
Okay.
And I would say maybe 90% of my clients come from YouTube, buyers and sellers, local, out of state, out of the country.
Wow.
Just watch YouTube videos.
Okay. Great.
So in this market here, it's still relevant. People,
Right.
That's the number 2 search engine, YouTube.
Right.
You either go on Google or you go on YouTube.
Right.
So I'm known in the industry as far as the YouTube lady.
All right.
So not a huge following, but it's a lot of calls that come in from YouTube.
Love that. Well, let's hear more about that later, but tell us your story right now and
Okay.
How you got started, and then tell everybody how to find you on YouTube. How's
Okay,
that?
great. So how I got started, I'm from Michigan. So me and my husband was buying properties, landlord, long-term, flipping. I was tired of waiting on my realtor to get me into properties. So I just said, hey, D, get your license. You can get your own self into the property. So it started that way as far as being investors. But moving here to Georgia 16 years ago,
The market crashed the year we moved, and I had to rely on those licenses because as an investor, everything changed. The way I borrow money, the way you purchase property, it just all changed. So I said, hey, I am licensed. So started doing a lot of short sales because the market crashed, people were underwater, so short sales were working. So just grew from there, still investing and serving clients. So I do enjoy serving the buyers and the sellers, just helping them out with the process. Because like you stated, that education is key. A lot of people don't know where to start, how to start. Some people are scared. So I hold hands, whatever I need to do to get them to their goal. So that's how we got started.
I love that. All right. And then Kelly Arzabe, also from Georgia here.
Hi. So I got my license in 2016. I've been self-employed pretty much my entire life. I started a pharmaceutical wholesale company when I was 24. I sold pharmaceuticals before that and thought, okay, I can do this. It's, sales is sales. It's all about relationships. That was in South Florida, moved here. That company was thriving, and I pretty much was on Easy Street where I ran that sales department, from home or a couple hours a day. And I one day had the idea that I was going to get my real estate license just in case we ever came across a rental property or something like that we wanted to buy, but not to do it for another career because I was already set. So my husband at the time, of course, I'm divorced now because, I'm successful. So it was real estate over the husband. And so he said, you know what, I think that's a horrible idea, but, do it. So I did the Barney Fletcher class, the 9 days. And on my lunch break, I ran our sales department for pharmaceuticals out of the car there on the lunch break. And I got my license. And then I said, okay, I'm not going to really use it, but I want to find a brokerage just to hang that license with, and that's it. And I knew no one that was in real estate. And did not have a real estate friend, didn't know anyone. So I researched all the brokerages. I saw Palmer House. I liked the story. And they said, we don't hire new agents. And I sent Kevin an email, which, we could laugh about now, that said, you don't have to worry about me. I'm not going to sell anything. You won't have any problems with me because I'm not going to do any business. But if I do business, it'll be good business. I'm in pharmaceuticals. That's a business that they can come in and you actually get arrested if you're not doing it correctly. So I did that, and within maybe 2 weeks after that, one of my friends said, hey, let's sell my house because I have it listed and it's not selling. And I said, no problem. And I sold it, and I brought the buyer and the tenant that was in there. I put them into something, and before you know it, that was May, I got my license, and by the end of the year, I think I had done like 20 transactions.
Wow.
And they said, oh, okay, well, come downtown for, top 50. And I thought, top 50, okay. So I go to the luncheon, and I thought, wow, okay. So I did 20. And who's at the top? Tom Ellicott. Okay, how many did you sell? And he said, I sold 50, and I'm number one. I thought to myself, well, I'll do 50. I'm just that competitive. And I thought, I'll do 50. And that's what I did. And I went back and I said, do you want me to keep the foot on the gas and keep going? And that first neighborhood that I was in, I ended up selling 21 houses in that neighborhood and grew my business from there, but never had a mentor. And I think and didn't really have any real estate friends, which I think is a blessing. So I didn't emulate anyone. I just used my standard business knowledge and just applied it to a different industry and just old school sales. So I don't do YouTube. You will not find me on there. I don't do videos. I don't do podcasts. You're going to find me on the streets. I put up my own signs. I write my own contracts. I show my own houses. That's where you'll find me.
Good
But just kind of traditional like that. And like same as you girls, of just organic kind of thing. So, and here I am.
Good story.
Love all that. And so each one of you has such a unique story. So just very different. And that always amazes me. Every time I meet all of our realtors all across the country, everybody's story is really unique. But it also comes back to some often central core, things that work for everybody. You start to hear some of the things that are similar. But yet everybody's so different. So I want to dig into that different for a minute. What makes you unique? What have you created about your business? Remember, our audience is other HomeSmart agents, other agents throughout the United States that are Their goal is to serve customers, help them buy and sell. And each one of you, I know from watching you, you do approach business so differently. So what makes you unique? What is different about you? What have you created that is different? What is, unique to you? What is working? How about you, Kelly? Keep on going.
Okay, yeah, no problem. I think what's unique about me is kind of going back to my story of I wasn't trying to emulate anyone. I didn't see anyone on Instagram and thought, oh, I want to be like them.
Right.
I didn't have a mentor telling me how, to do things. So I had to teach myself. So what makes me an anomaly, I say, in this business is that because I had a business background, I didn't want to just know the answer. I wanted to know how we got there, why. So I taught myself every bit of it. And for my business, when clients come to me, they want, Kelly Arzabe that's going to be there every time. Some people use transaction coordinators. They say I'm nuts because I don't use one, but they know I wrote the contract and they can call me and ask that. And I'm out there putting out their sign and I'm, there with photos and watching, every bit of it and super transparent and honest.
Right.
And they never feel like I'm just trying to sell them something. I'm always for the long game of just building that client of this is what works now. This is a smart investment. Let's just get into the game. And I think that kind of makes me different in a world where, in this business, we're all the same because you've got to be hardworking and you've got to have grit to go this far.
Right.
But we all have a different approach. And what makes me different is I'm not that coddler. So I don't care about the home interior. I don't care what you saw on HGTV. When you're my client, we are looking at the roof, we're looking at the HVAC, I'm looking at resale value, I'm looking at water intrusion, all of those things that my customers appreciate, but it might not be a good fit for someone else that wants something different, but that's what they get when they come to me.
That's great. Dion?
So I would say what makes me unique is I'm a niche person. This industry is so broad that I call it the elephant in the room. You only can take a bite at a time. So I get a lot of calls from mentees and wannabes, and I always ask them, why do you want to get in the real estate industry? I always ask them why. And if they tell me money is not going to sustain you. You got to have something stronger and larger than money when you're in this industry. So for me, I just always had that investor heart and then a heart to serve. So when people see me on YouTube, some of them call me auntie. They say I feel like I'm their aunt. They just feel connected with me because what you see is what you get. I'm me every day. This is how I am. Of course, if a contract on fire, I might be a little higher than right now, but what you see is what you get. So I have that niche of connection. When you see me on YouTube and my phone ring, they looking for me. They're not looking for just a realtor. They looking for Lowe, the realtor. And then I market a lot of new construction property. So that's my niche. So new construction and then just a relationship as far as when you call me, I have a wealth of information to give you. I tell you what I know, and then I tell you what I don't know, but we're going to find out the answer. So I think that's what makes me unique is just being authentic and connecting with the people and having resources for them so they can make the best decision for their family. Because I don't call myself a salesperson. Even though I'm in sales, I give you enough information so you can make the best decision for you and your family.
Like that.
What I'll say about what makes me different is three things that come to mind. I'll tie back into what I said earlier. I use the mistakes that I made as a first-time home buyer myself to educate the first-time home buyers that I'm working with, and even the resale sellers or purchasers. So I make sure that they're fully educated and aware about what's happening in their transaction and what's happening in the market. You'll see that when you find me on YouTube or Instagram, my videos are story time about something that happened in a transaction, or it's what's going on in the market, or it's a breakdown of a particular part of the process. So I provide a lot of education, and I think that brings a lot of value. One of the other things that I would say that makes me unique is the service after the sale. So even after we've closed the transaction, that's not going to be the last time you hear from me. I've been told I'm what's called a high touch realtor. And so once I have closed the transaction, my clients are getting a bi-monthly magazine that's branded with my information. They're getting a quarterly home beat that talks about what's happening in their neighborhoods. They're getting Mother's Day cards, Father's Day cards, Christmas cards. I have an annual client event. They get a Christmas present from me. One year I even sent Valentine's Day cookies. So I do those types of things to set myself apart from other realtors that they may be getting a farming postcard from, or that they may have met down the street. They're not just getting something from me at the closing table. So I think that's the other thing that I would say distinguishes me from other realtors.
I love that. Okay, so let's keep digging a little bit. You mentioned even mistakes or things that you've learned along the way. So one thing I'd love to hear is what you wish someone would have told you prior to getting into real estate, and maybe what you wish someone would have told you before you got into real estate, and maybe one mistake or something that you learned from that can help someone else avoid.
Well, for me, I think it's when I think of, when you look back and you say hindsight's 20/20, right? Mm-hmm. And you think, if I only knew then. And for me, that's tough because really when I explain what sets me apart and what drove my career was not knowing anything. And I think that is what made me good. I actually, I trademarked doing good business is good for business. If I would have had those influences, right, or maybe someone giving me the answers, I wouldn't have been where I am today. Mm-hmm. Because you think you had a mentor telling you, this is how you go to FMLS, this is how you search for a house. I didn't have anyone. So I have a password. Now I'm looking, what is Matrix? What does this mean? How do you search for a house, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think that was a blessing in that. I'll tell you if I could go back and change one thing that's a huge mistake that I did, was I was so humble thinking that I wasn't going to, be successful at this. And that wasn't even my intentions anyways, that I remember thinking, oh, I don't need a CRM. I don't need a list. I'm always going to remember every client I sold. How many deals am I going to do, right? Mm-hmm. And then I got so busy where it was gas on a fire, that you think of, you're in real estate school in April and in May you're doing, transactions that you couldn't. When were you supposed to go back and hit the brakes and say, just kidding, I need to take 3 months off mm-hmm. to get emails and stuff right, and all these different things to package your business for the future. So I think that, anyone that's starting out new, obviously don't just think about that check and that first dollar, because that's not doing good business. But make sure you're creating a good foundation that I wish I wouldn't have, where I'm going back and I'm saying, oh my gosh, when people, come to they come to my office, they say, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Everything's written on pieces of paper. There's no tech, right? Because I'm on the street selling houses, so I'm coming home and just doing that. And I wish I would have had that. But when people ask about mistakes or what you wish you were told then, I always tell people that when they say, "Oh, there's nothing worse than working with a new agent," right? I said there is. You know what's worse than a new agent that doesn't know anything? A new agent that doesn't know anything but thinks they do. Yeah. Okay. And I think that worked in my benefit, that I was humble and eager enough to learn, that I wanted to know everything. Okay. And I, like you said, I wouldn't just say an answer. I'm going to say, I don't know. I'm going to find out. And I'm going to make sure I never have to say, I don't know again. Right. And I think that, so it's a blessing and a curse. Yeah. You look back on it now and you're like, oh yeah, that's great. But at the time, it was a nightmare.
Ask that question again, Todd. Let me make sure I'm hear the question.
It's really what do you wish someone would have told you before you started in real estate? And then what was maybe one mistake that you wish you wouldn't have done that you could share that someone else could then avoid that mistake? So it's what do you wish you knew prior to getting into real estate?
So remember, I had invested hard. So I wish someone would have told me to at least, at the minimum, buy a property per year, as well as here in Georgia with all the new construction. I wish someone would have told me to purchase the first initial property in the first phase and hold on to it. So that's the mistake that I have made by not purchasing a new construction property in that first phase. That's my mistake.
That's a good one. I will often tell people when it comes to new home building, just as that, and often we know this as real estate professionals, but we forget to share it with our clients, that if they're doing a new development, they're going to break it into 1, 2, or 3 phases, right? And that phase 1 homes, those homes are going to be the lowest priced homes. Phase 2, they're going to raise the price. Phase 3, they only have a couple lots left, or they're going to close it out. They're going to raise the price again. So I think the tactic and the story that you're talking about there is if your clients purchase in phase 1, or if you as a real estate professional purchase in phase 1, by the time phase 3 comes around, there's a pretty good chance that they've raised the price twice.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. So how about a mistake? Was there ever a mistake made along the way? I'll give you an example. I know of an agent once that spent, thousands of dollars on something marketing wise because somebody popped in their office last minute and, unannounced and sold them on, hey, this is going to do all this for your business. And he kind of chased the shiny object and realized because if he would have had a budget and said, no, I have a budget, it's already planned out, and these are the things that I'm going to do, maybe he wouldn't have reacted yes. But in this case, he was sold a bill of goods. And he's learned now when people come to not change the shiny object, or maybe not always when somebody pitches you something that they want you to spend money, that maybe he should hold back on his investment in that marketing till he really discovers if it works. Is that a good example?
That's a good example. I can't think of anything off the top of my head because, like I stated, I think because my heart is an investor as well as, I'm an investor and a realtor, but I just can't think of anything on the realtor side.
Right.
I just can't think of anything.
And I want to tie a bow on what Kelly said. What I heard you say, Kelly, was, in a way, if you would have maybe put some of the structure like the CRM or some of those other things in place at the beginning as you built your business, you could have just added to it. And, rather than later on, it becomes that's a whole project now to go back and do. So those of you that are starting, maybe put some of those structure in place right from the beginning.
I'd like to piggyback on that if I'm just going to piggyback on something.
Right.
That would just stick out, systems and procedures in place. So.
And it's easier to do it when you're in your second or third or fourth transaction, right?
In the beginning.
You have a little more time
Yeah.
and you only have a few clients.
Right.
But when you're into it 5 years, and I'm sending out Christmas wreaths to everyone, and I've got it on a piece of paper on my desk, and I think I have got to get a better system and get this going. And you think, well, when's that going to be? What day are you going to take off from selling to sit there and make these lists that you don't want to do, right? Or have to pay somebody to do that when you could have just been doing it the whole time. But you just got really setting that foundation. And when you say about spending money on things, I'm old school sales, right? So there, YouTube and Instagram and the videos and all of that. And I'm all about your brand. So, even though we're not really salespeople, right? We're therapists, right? Half the time, right?
Yes.
We're project manager, life coach, divorce, therapist, whatever it is, yard work person, house cleaner.
Yep.
But we do all of that. But when I say it's, sales to sales, and, when I kind of tell these new agents, you got it or you don't, because you got it or you don't.
Okay.
And my belief is in branding. So from the beginning, there's not one time that I ever advertised that I was a new agent.
Right.
I never told them, oh my gosh, look at me, I got my real estate license. Because to me, what makes me kind of different, but it also goes back to how you started out and what you did, was I did spend money on branding. And because I believed as long as everybody thought, well, I see her name everywhere, right? So she's doing good business. And my approach was, I don't need that client. They're doing a disservice to themselves if they don't hire me. And I'm pretty aggressive and competitive. I see Allison's face like, but it's pretty aggressive and competitive approach. But okay. But well, because it's pretty bold to come out of the gates and say, you're doing this service. But it just, I knew I do good business, and that's
Go with your title. You have to be bold to be a realtor.
Yeah. So it never dawned on. No one ever paused and thought, well, they would say, how long have you been doing this? Thinking I would say 20 years, right? Or ask my lender, like, wow, she's been doing this a long time. And people would ask me, and they'd say, well, how long have you been doing it? And I'd say, well, I moved here from South Florida. Did not answer the question. Wasn't lying. And then they just like, okay, well, because you're good. And you know what? Maybe at that time I'd only been doing it a couple months or something like that. But that branding and that spending the money, I think, can be a mistake. I probably did waste, money on wrong things. But if that's all you're doing and that's your focus, then I think it's okay. But if you spread it out wide, that's a mistake.
Well, but I have seen a lot of your marketing, and I'm impressed. And the fact that you do build that brand, and your name is on everything. Yeah. And I've been in a room full of realtors who want to learn from another realtor, and then they'll say, well, wait a minute, how much do you budget for building your brand? How much do you budget for putting some money aside to do the things you're talking about? Everything from Christmas wreaths right down to advertising in a concert series or something maybe that you might do locally, right? And some agents will be like, well, I don't want to spend money on that, but yet they want the brand, but they don't want to spend the money on it. So to a certain degree, I commend you because I have seen you build. It is an investment, and that's why you do have such great brand awareness. And also the way you talk about your clients, like you fiercely work for them. And I think that comes through in your marketing too. And I just commend you for it because you work hard for your clients and it comes through.
I appreciate that. I wish I could be more like these girls, and it would be a little more cost effective to do the videos and the YouTube, but that's not my jam. So
you got to stick with what works.
Right.
You
so
unique.
If my clients saw me doing, a YouTube video like that, they would think, what happened to her? What, this isn't her. But when I see agents like you do it, I say, oh, wow, that's great that you do that because I'm, honest enough when I can say this I'm good at and this I'm not.
Yeah. Well, what I'll say is what I wish someone had told me actually ties into all of this is the amount of investment that you have to place, not just in time, but in the marketing of yourself as a realtor. And it also ties into my mistake as well. Being new, I had a great mentor who gave me the basics. Okay, this is what you need to do. But I didn't wait for her to tell me to do stuff either. I investigated other things on my own and made my own way after taking the basics that she gave me and created my own brand. But I also tried a lot of different things. And so investing in companies like RedX, big mistake, right? But that was me. It did not work for me, right? So when we were talking about things that didn't work for you, like hunting down FSBOs and hunting down expires doesn't work for me. Doing farming doesn't work for me. But engaging in my sphere, that works for me. That's where I generated my business from. Creating a partnership with a lender that continues to serve me. So I had to find what worked for me. Doing the videos, it doesn't come naturally. However, I'm a corporate trainer by profession. And so I'm able to sit in front of a room and have a conversation about a topic. And so I can translate that into a 90-second video. And so I use what works for me and created my own lane, if you will. And I come from a corporate background, so I'm sure you've heard of the term rob and duplicate. It doesn't make sense to recreate the wheel when someone has established these basics for every realtor to get started in their business. Take them and run with it and make it your own thing. And I think that's the important thing to stress when talking about, how to get started. It's like, don't recreate the wheel. That's right. You don't have to recreate the wheel. The basics are there. Follow the basics and then make it your own.
Mm-hmm. Great stories, great advice, all of it. And anyway, so much swirling through my head just watching the three of your businesses and the way you talk about your clients. What speaks to me is I do know all of you have that servant heart, that you're going to do what it takes for your clients, and the time, the effort, the care that you put in, you want it perfect every time.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And that comes through. And so I commend you for that. Real quick, right now, we're in the middle of summer 2023. Kind of want to talk for a minute about what's working right now. We've had, we had the pandemic. Prior to the pandemic, we had some years of high transaction real estate, but then the pandemic came in. The water shut off completely for a minute, and then it just turned back on full force. It was like we were busy. Then, the economy started to change a little bit. Things have slowed down a little bit on some respects on a transaction side, but you still have high demand. You've got customers that want to buy homes, but there just doesn't seem to be as much available inventory maybe as there was for a while. So that's kind of where we're at right now in the summer of 2023. What's working for you right now? What advice can you give the realtor trying to take care of their clients, grow their business right now in 2023? What should they be doing right now?
I'll go. I have three.
Okay.
If you're not on Google, you're making a mistake. If you're not engaging your sphere, you're making a mistake. And if you're not doing videos on social media, you're making a mistake. Those are the three things that are thriving my business right now. I don't have to prospect, even though I should be, because my phone is ringing from those three things.
Great advice.
I'll piggyback on that as well. Just being consistent with your social media. I'm thinking everybody is online, down to the 2-year-old, with the iPhone. I have kids, some of my clients' kids, they watch me on YouTube. So it's just, to me, just being consistent, whatever that is. Be consistent. Don't take on a bunch of different tasks. Stay consistent. What's in your heart? Stay consistent. That's the only thing that's keep coming to me. Is just being consistent. Whatever that is, be consistent.
If I may piggyback on something she said.
Yeah.
I listened to a podcast the other day, and the guy said, what are people taking with them when they go to the bathroom?
Phone.
Mm-hmm.
Their phone. They're not taking the postcard you mailed them. They're taking their phone. So you want to be on the phone.
That's great.
So for me, I look at kind of business right now, how it's shifted, this summer or this year, is I tell people this is the business is still there. You don't have the younger families that want to do their move-up house right now and say, I got $100,000 in equity, and now I want to go, because they say there's no inventory and the rates are high. I'm going to stay put and put in a pool or do whatever. But there's business is still there because it's life happens business.
Right.
So all the business that I've been doing this year is divorce, death, relocation. Life happens, right? You got married, you're buying your first house, you had a kid, so you need a bigger house. And it's pivoted more from maybe the last 2 years where I was 80% listings, right? And so now you have these buyers, it's life happened. And all of my listings are life happens. And I think that goes back to the same thing that all three of us have said, that, we stay in constant contact with our clients. And of course, I could do more work. I could, go. Yeah, you could, work on more leads. But I'm lucky enough that I always said from the beginning that when people said you'll get burnt out, I said, well, one day the market's going to change and my business is going to be cut in half. And as long as I'm working this hard and doing this many transactions and building this kind of client base, if it does and when it does, I will be okay. And I think that you have to keep that mentality if you want to be successful, because it's going to be a buyer's market, a seller's market, a slower market, a hot market. And I think that's what you have to focus on. And my clients always know where they can find me. I'm always in touch with them. They always see my Facebook post. And it's almost where, like, they say this to me, if I didn't refer you or I didn't use you, I'd be a little bit scared, And I wouldn't want you to find out. But it's staying in contact with people. And you can kind of use this where you don't want to say downtime. We're still, busy doing business. But I call it kind of a downtime where we're just not, so crazy, and in the car. And if you don't get to that house in 10 minutes, it's going to be under contract.
Right.
So we've got a little more breathing room right now, and use that breathing room to make sure that you're following up with your clients and you're staying in touch with them. And because it is a life happens market, they're having to call you. I just had one 2 days ago, and they're like, we didn't want to call you because we're getting a divorce, right? And as long as I still had that relationship with them, they felt comfortable enough that it's in the divorce paperwork. I could. This is the first time. It was the first thing for me that I would be the realtor.
Wow.
And that's what I said. Wow. I go, I'm part of the divorce. And they said, well, that was the only thing that we could both agree on. And the attorney said that we should pick somebody that's an unbiased person, and we both agreed on that. And so I think that's super important in this market, is that we're staying in touch.
If I may say something to what Kelly said, I think it's important when the market is shifting or what have you, that the message that you're putting out there to your clients is not one, you absolutely need to sell right now, you absolutely need to buy right now. It should be, you need to do what's right for you in your situation. And all of my marketing is about, there are always going to be people who need to buy or sell a house for whatever reason. The life happens people. And so when you're reaching out to me, I'm trying to find out what the life happens reason is that we are having this conversation. And so I'm not trying to sell you on buying. Yes, for you. I'm not trying to sell you on selling your house or buying a house. I'm trying to understand what your needs are and how I can best assist you in that situation. And I think that if you approach your interactions with your clients in that way, as opposed to trying to get your next sale, it will make a difference. You will have created a relationship, and they will contact you when life happens.
Absolutely.
I always tell people like this. It's the same thing as you. If they call me and say, okay, Kelly, we have to sell the house. Come by at 3:00, For the first thing I say to them is, so how'd we get here? And where are we going?
Yeah.
Right? And that's, that's important, right? And are we looking for a quick sale? Is it all about the money? Is it, what is it? So working with your clients like that, and I think right now you're going to see people thrive that built that base, that didn't take their clients for granted.
Right.
When business was so busy, right? And it was just, you just can't get to everybody. Now the people that you will see that will be successful and thrive in this are people that really did good business.
Yeah. That's good.
So this is an edit point. Those are kind of all my questions. What I kind of want to do is ask you guys something in closing, or give you a chance to do a closing. So she'll edit this in.
Okay.
But is there anything that you want to talk about that we haven't talked about yet?
Because we're talking to realtors, correct?
We're talking to realtors.
Right.
But if there's something you want to say to the consumers, you should be saying, like, you as realtors, you need to be saying this to here's an idea for you right now to say to your consumers. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you take that approach, because
Well, they know how to talk to the consumers on it. I'll talk to the realtors.
The light is still on, correct?
No,
It is.
Yes.
It is.
yeah.
Sorry, I'm
And
like, which one? Sorry.
No, I've glanced down a couple times.
Anyway.
I can kind of see it from this
Yeah.
angle, but-
But anyway, real quick, just with you, I'm going to do a quick little wrap up and a little closing, but I want to give you guys time to talk more. I can't say enough how much your experience comes through your answers. I can't say enough how much what I'm hearing comes through about your experience and your care for your customers. Just what, Kelly, what you just said just a minute ago, just about you're asking them, okay, so how did we get here and where are we going?
Right.
That's experience and knowledge that you have been through these. It's so much more than a transaction. The transaction term is used often in real estate. It's never a transaction to a buyer or seller. And you all know that.
Right.
And so, but you learned that through going down that road with them many, many times. So I guess the thing, if we could wrap up here, would be, our audience is the real estate industry, our agents, the real estate professionals that are working with buyers and sellers. What didn't we talk about with them today? What insights could you add to wrap up the conversation, or any last secrets that you didn't divulge that maybe could help an agent right now? Yeah, go ahead, Allyson.
What I'll say is I find that when I share data on my social media channels, that's when I get a tremendous amount of response. I get, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for explaining it that way. I think oftentimes we often focus on the glitz and glam of being successful real estate agents and forget that sometimes people need the information behind the transaction. And so sharing with them what they may not be seeing in the media is extremely important. Sharing with them, this is what your home is actually worth. This is what how long homes are sitting on the market right now. This is what's happening in your respective area with respect to inventory. Sharing that type of data can help incentivize them to move when they weren't necessarily pressured to move before. And so don't take for granted that our clients need information. We get a ton of information. We have infinite access to information, and I don't think we use it enough. And I think that we should take the opportunity to share it with our clients because they are looking for it.
I love that.
That was good.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of that. I would say marketing, as far as trying to get a listing or get a buyer, I'm going to say I'm guilty for not educating enough. Because like you stated, you would get a lot of hits when you put out an educational video, and I know this. So I am guilty of not educating enough. So that was a big, huge point.
I agree with that, and I do it a little bit differently, but the same, is that instead of just posting closed or under contract, right, with a picture of that house, I usually write some little backstory of it because, like Todd said, it's called a transaction, but each one, sometimes it's called a nightmare, sometimes it's called a fun time, but each transaction is a life experience, for them, and each one is different. And when you kind of break it down and you post one and you say, I got a lot of traction out for one that I had that was listed on the market 3 months, dirty listing, asked me to come in to sell it, and where you're looking what's wrong with it, right? And I was able to bring them multiple offers and cash within 2-3 days for $50,000 more than they were going to take. And instead of just putting under contract or closed, I explained that, right? That it was about the marketing and they were marketing it to the wrong people. And I think that goes back to the education of them because they only see, if I'm ever home in the evenings or during the day and you watch the news and you're working from home, I think, oh my gosh, no wonder these people are, freaking out because it makes you feel stressed out, right? And then they watch HGTV where somebody has a $17 million budget.
Right.
They want to know in their neighborhood, real people, real, honest information of what's going on, where I say, you know what, that's not really applying to your neighborhood because your neighborhood is on fire. So nightly news is talking about the nation in general. You want to know what's happening in your neighborhood. So I try to educate them on that. But it also goes to, another point that's a hot button with me is showing the value of us agents, because I think that, it just got flooded with so many agents so fast, right? Because real estate just became a popular topic, right? Even before it was just a super hot market, it was just a popular topic. Everyone wants to get in real estate. And I think that I'm a huge. Everyone that meets me or I ever speak on anything, I'm a big advocate for us as a profession, and that we're not all created equal. So that's part of me educating my customers and friends and family in my sphere. And it's also for all of you agents out there that doesn't, matter what the market is, up or down, or how much, you say, wow, my business was cut and now I need, to get a deal. Stay consistent about your branding and how you do business. Do not cut corners. Do not, because the damage that will do for the long term when people say, I just want to get this transaction because some check is better than no check. No, that's going to do a lot of damage. And we have to make sure, because now in this market is when I say people need an educated professional more than ever.
Yes.
So don't discount us or discount our profession for a short-term gain, right? Because as everything is evolving and it's, super scary because this is a big investment and the rates are high and is the market high and is it going to crash? There's a value to us, and I don't, I want to make sure that everyone protects that because it's super important to me.
It's good.
Well, thank you all. This has been very insightful, very, very helpful. We at HomeSmart, we use a term, sometimes we call it our BAMLY, our
Right.
business family, and we're very collaborative. We love to work with each other and help each other. And just real quick, I know some of the agents listening are like, how do I go learn more about the three people that were just on that podcast? How do I go get connected with them? How do I go see what they're doing? So if you all real quick could, in the spirit of collaboration and networking and connecting with other HomeSmart agents around the country, or just agents, real estate agents in general,
Okay.
just tell us your website, tell us how they can get a hold of you, maybe your social media, how they can reach you and maybe find you on YouTube or whatever it might be. But start with your website and just tell people how they can reach out to you.
We'll start with me because I'm the easiest and they're going to have 27 things listed for you. So I'm easy. I'm Kelly Arzabe, and if you want to get me, you can call me, and I have 2 phones running at all the time, and it's 678-667-6385. And you can also find me on Facebook. You can find me on social media, but I'm not... they keep telling me you got to have that real estate page, and I refuse. I don't wear name tags. I don't do the real estate page. I'm an anomaly. There's a reason why I'm on the panel. Everybody's different. So that's how you would find me. And maybe one day you'll find me on YouTube and stuff. I hang out with these girls long
We're going
enough.
to do a YouTube video together.
But real quick, spell your name if you could, real quick.
It's Kelly Arzabe, KELLYARZAB as in boy, E as in Edward.
And do you have a website?
No.
No. Okay. Love it.
So the best place to find me is YouTube. So that's Dion, DIONNE, last name Lowe, LOWE, or you can just shorten it to DLOWE and pull me up on YouTube, and it has all my information there.
I'm fairly easy. My website is harrishomessell.com. HARRISHOMESSELL.com. And that's also all of my handles for social media, Harris Homes Sell.
Good.
All right. Well, great. Well, thank you all for joining us on this episode of the Real Estate Podcast. We'll see you back on future episodes. Thank you all for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
It's been wonderful, and we'll catch all of you on a future episode. Take care.
Like what you're hearing on The Real Estate? Tell your friends about us. Tell them to check out all of our episodes on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. And don't forget to send any topics you want us to tackle to therealestate@homesmart.com.